I'm no longer the young man sitting in the back, hoping colleagues would remember my name. It's time for the next generation of leadership.
And that was Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell yesterday announcing he will be stepping down as Republican leader this November. Some early names to replace McConnell include Wyoming Senator John Barrasso, South Dakota Senator John Thune, and Texas Senator John Cornyn. Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville joined me in the last hour saying Republicans need to name a new leader before McConnell resigns. Watch.
Leader McConnell has done a good job, but I'm not for a lame duck leader. I'm for in the next month us picking somebody else out that's going to lead us. Let them pick their own team. We have to have somebody, number one, that's behind the Senate, behind the American people, and behind President Trump.
Joining me right now is Indiana Senator Mike Braun, a member of the Senate Budget and Agricultural Committees, also the ranking member of the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Aging Committee. Senator, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Who would you like to see in leadership now that McConnell's stepping down?
Well, I'll go back to the last time we did this. I was standing right next to Rick Scott when he decided to kind of on the moment extemporaneously throwing his hat in the ring. That had to do with a little dust up on he's simply saying that entitlement needed to be looked at. Said it in the wrong way. Schumer jumped on him, then McConnell. He got 9 or 10 votes. Clearly, the party has changed. Since I came in 18, 15 of the last 17 senators come from a different way of thinking, and that's try to fix this place. It's not the old guard. So we've already got the Senate caucus that's changed a lot. I didn't know until we actually did the count, but if you go back to 18, it's that different from where it was before. So yes, somebody that reflects that new point of view, can't borrow money from our kids and grandkids, wants to still be involved in leading, but not paying all the bills across the world, and somehow get to where we don't vote for Democratic legislation, put out conservative ideas that are entrepreneurial to fix the problems we face. Yeah. That's what I want to see.
Well, is there someone that comes to mind? Did you want Rick Scott there?
I'd like to see him do it again because he is clearly from that new guard. We speak up. We are going to be there if it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. Senator Tuberville told you about $34 trillion in debt. Maria, that was $18 trillion just 5 years ago. Wow. That is a terrible business plan for our country.
Yeah, it sure is. And we've seen the consequences of that. But isn't it interesting that McConnell leaves on a high note when it comes to continuing resolutions? Here you are just reaching a bipartisan deal to keep the government funded past tomorrow's deadline. Lawmakers agreeing to 6 appropriation bills with a plan to vote on them by March 8th. The deadline for the remaining bills now moved up to March 22nd. And they will stick to the Fiscal Responsibility Act, discretionary spending limits, and January's top-line spending agreement. So here we are again, deja vu with another continuing resolution, huh?
And that's been the same thing every year I've been here. I'm on the Budget Committee. We need more folks that have actually signed the front side of a paycheck to be here and on the Budget Committee. But when the leaders, the chairs of these committees, don't want to do anything about it, that's a tool, Maria. They do back you into a corner. Republicans always hold the bag on a government shutdown. Nobody wants that. But we do no budget resolution. We do no budget mechanics. This is done behind closed doors. And now we're borrowing $1 trillion every 6 months because there's no discipline in this place.
Yeah.
That's got to change.
Well, look, I mean, at this point, we are waiting to see how this plays out. Do you believe you will have a new leader in place before November? Or are we going to see Mitch McConnell with 1 foot in and 1 foot out of America First policies? Because, you know, your colleagues are, you know, criticizing Mitch McConnell for always working with the Democrats.
Well, I mean, I think that it would be a cleaner cut if we had somebody in before that. If he does decide to stick through November, I think he needs to come out strongly for Trump, even though he might have to bite his tongue to do that. It's clear that in 15 and 16, when he came on the scene, Maria, half the country was fed up with this place. And when you see it up close like I do, it's worse than what you can imagine. So don't fight it. You got to go along with it, even if they don't get along as personalities. If we do anything that splinters the thin margin we might have, polling kind of leaning in our favor, it'll be another political disaster. He needs to come around fully behind. Nikki Haley needs to get out of the race. Look at what was working pre-Biden. Everything was working well. We don't have that now.
Yeah, and part of it, of course, is this wide open border. Border apprehensions were at a 40-year low under President Trump. Now we're at a 20-year high. Pardon me, but Border Patrol Chief Jason Owens revealed that since October, there have been more than 890,000 migrant apprehensions. That's just October, and more than 120,000 known gotaways. Democrats are now pushing to dismiss the Senate impeachment trial of Alejandro Mayorkas altogether. Within minutes of the trial starting, even Joe Manchin is calling this trial ridiculous, Senator. And you've got the Democrats putting, once again, Ukraine as the top priority instead of this wide open border, even during a week that we learn that this nursing student was murdered by an illegal who came into this country in September of 2022. And not a word about Laken Riley this week when Chuck Schumer gave his press conference after meeting with the White House. Watch this.
The overwhelming sentiment in that meeting is we got to do Ukraine now. And there are other issues, including border, which we should address, but not now. We said to the Speaker, get it done. If you don't do the right thing, whatever the immediate politics are, you will regret it.
So what do you say to that? Ukraine money now, border later.
You got it in the wrong order. If you're from a place like Indiana, that is the #1 issue. And you look what happened with Laken Riley. Look what happened on the streets of New York, where they take down cops to the ground. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And to let them try to sweep this away, put foreign borders at a higher priority than our southern border, that's not going to fly. And this idea that there was some type of bill that was going to fix it that fell apart and then try to spin it and blame it on Republicans for not doing border reform, that's what they're good at. That would have baselined illegal immigration 8 to 10 times the level that Trump had. You can't fall for that. Their political enterprisers are quicker on their feet, and sadly 10 to 15 Republicans go along with that nonsense. That's got to stop.
Yeah, I mean, look, so you think Mitch McConnell saw the writing on the wall in terms of the push to put America first, or is it just that he sees the writing on the wall that Trump is coming in, he's going to have to get in line, or or not, and he's choosing, I can't do it. I don't want to stand by Trump.
Well, I think that if you can't see that clearly, I'm an entrepreneur by trade before I got in the Senate, you've got to see where things are going. In the country, all the way back 2-3 decades ago, started getting bloated here. And if you want to hang on to what you may have been a part of, you got to acknowledge that's not working. And you got to step aside or either get behind if we're going to fix this country. If not, it'll go into some type of Chapter 11 to fix it financially, not to mention where we've gone kind of as a country in terms of our ideals and all of that. It's a point where you let it slip back the way it has been. The political enterprisers running the show, the Democrats, they love this place. They love to grow it. And you got to return a little bit of the responsibility, maybe a lot of it, back to the states where you live within your means. You got balanced budget amendments or statutes. Yeah. You do regular order. This place has just gotten out of hand.
Senator, I don't think I've heard that reference in this context before, that the U.S. could go Chapter 11. Is that actually a possibility?
It won't be formally, but when you do any of this for a year or two, you get a chance to get your act in order. If you don't, you're liquidated and you go on the ash heap. Here are the printing presses in the basement. The credit card gets renewed, but something like that's going to have to happen, and it's going to take people that have signed the front side of a paycheck, not career politicians, to get it done.
That's a great point. And real quick before you go, because you're on this subcommittee on aging, should Joe Biden have taken a cognitive test? He says the physical's fine. No cognitive test needed.
Well, I think that's another obvious answer. Anyone that has to use note cards on subject matter in every setting or be glued to the teleprompter probably ought to be tested.
Senator, good to see you. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, Mike Braun is in D.C. this morning. We'll be right back.